and now we have this vote going on. There's bad ideas. The Eida Charedis, I'll say, there's a lot of bad ideas. It doesn't matter how rabbinic you are. If you have a bad idea, you should weigh it against what Chazal said. So bad ideas are multiplying all over the place. Like last week and earlier, the Eida Charedis said that killing murderers will provoke the Goyim. Giving the death penalty to murderers in Israeli prisons will provoke the Goyim. Maybe they'll want to kill us. As Dr. England pointed out, it could lead to bloodshed. If the Arabs see this, it could lead to bloodshed. Okay? Wait a minute. The guy's in prison because he already killed a Jew, or Jews. You're saying if we put him to death, instead of saving other Jewish lives, that's going to make them want to kill us? They're already killing us. He's in prison for killing Jews. It's like, if we institute the death penalty, it'll make them upset, It's like the whole thing, don't upset the Nazis. They might want to, start a war against you. Okay? So, yeah. And, or this week, it was pointed out by many people, they just put out a kol koreh now. No Haredis should go to the army at all. At all. Even the ones not learning. Why? Ein dochen nefesh mipnei nefesh. No one's allowed to go to the army. It's a pikuach nefesh. So you can't force certain Haredi guys who are the real bums, who are really not learning, to go to the army. Ein dochen nefesh mipnei nefesh. And all the guys who serve, they're not nefesh. And apparently they're not, So there you go. So, yeah, so there's all sorts of crazy ideas going on around there. It doesn't matter, okay? So they just default to learning Torah, I guess.
They're not doing that either.
Yeah.
They wouldn't say that.
So here's how it goes. They think that studying Torah do the trick, and then defaulting to doing nothing, and not provoking the Goyim takes precedence, even if it contradicts, like, the Talmudic halachic tradition. And in this case, like Dr. Salvation would say, the mimetic practice trumps the textual tradition. Okay, you remember Dr. Grach? The mimetic practice, the Mishnah Berurah's revolution. No, people just used to do Judaism because it was what tradition in practice, and then people started looking in the books more. And like, everything we're doing is wrong, so now we got to go back to this. He doesn't take a value judgment. What? Yeah, well, it happens. I think that the Vilna Gaon and the Shach and the Rambam all believed in the book tradition. If everybody's doing something wrong and really recorded, that's why you write it down, so it's like written in stone. This is wrong. Wrong is wrong. Or study some more. So, what?
The whole, that's what we do to get into anything else. I find funny.
Yeah.
For Ezra. He says, oh, wow, we found this whole Torah thing.
Yeah, and it says, keep
like,
Sukkot.
Wait a second, we're supposed to do Korban Pesach?
Yeah, keep Sukkot, And the Rosh Hashanah
wasn't to do it, they shouldn't have done.
No, they become so distant from keeping actual Torah. And that takes us back to the beginning. Someone's telling me, I didn't know Hebrew sounds like this. I didn't know you're supposed to do Korban Pesach. Okay? Someone's studying, they're learning, and they can say, I never knew I was supposed to, Lechatchila try to bring Korban Pesach. Well, you've been an uninstalled until this point, until it became Lechatchila. The B'diavad became Lechatchila. And the other argument was prisoner exchanges. It's very clear. You should just follow the Rambam. You cannot give anything for a Jewish hostage, right? Unless they want monetary sum, going price of a slave on the market. You can't give anything else. Why? Very clear. Because it'll incentivize them to kidnap even more, right? It's clean enough, but you have mid-20th century poskim who came up with all sorts of takbulais, how you can, allow for it. And now we suffer every single day. You even have chief rabbis saying, yeah, but this prisoner exchange is okay. Release these ones, release that ones. Don't we see that the idea is bad and it's causing problems now? Okay? It used to be that reductio ad absurdum could show a fallacy. Right? You see, you bring it to the absurd conclusion. To show you that you shouldn't do this. But now it's the modus operandi. Sorry for all the Latin. Okay? Just doing these things is crazy. Modus operandi is Latin for mode of operations. It means what you should do. Like follow the rules and do this, the protocols. So reductio ad absurdum means reducing to the absurd. Yeah. Right? Taking the logic in it, don't you see that if you continue this way, you'll get to crazy. So it must be that's wrong.
You spoke about that one, so
I spoke about a few of them. So, but now the crazy is the rule, or what we're about to have here. Every yeshuv is voted against letting in the so-called Palestinian workers to build the next projects. No one wants it anymore. Just ask the Nero's people. Hananel was speaking about it in his town. Okay,
What is Hananiah?
Hananel is my bereaved brother-in-law.
Well, I know who he is.
Yeah.
But
What?
I don't know.
So I'm going to say, if they allow me to speak at the DU, and I'd say I would have invited my sister-in-law to speak out against this, but she couldn't be here with us tonight. Okay, I don't understand how anybody could even consider this. But then they told me that I hope this is not true, so I'm not going to say. I'm going to give Dam Lechavskus. I don't think he said it. They said Rabbi Melamed and Rabbi Eliyahu said you could bring them in. Vote yes, or you can vote yes. That's ridiculous. Okay, how many debts basically comes out to everybody here is no, 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 or well, pragmatically, we got to let in some so we can build. Well, how many deaths are you willing to countenance in order to get these things built? That's basically what it comes down to. So you have a problem here. How many? When are you going to learn the lesson? So I don't think there's any legitimacy to this vote, but they're going to have it. And I want to tell them, well, if you're thinking money, monetary considerations beat the pikuach nefesh and the halacha. So why don't you make money? Build a bunch of casinos and brothels. Yeah, against the halacha, it's against halacha, but money. Consider the money. They say that the Jewish conference, someone who wants to just work with natives to build things, will can't afford it. I don't know. Just so raise the prices. It's doable. I think it's just a fallacy. People don't realize that you can actually do it. And you know what else they did? Like my wife says, they're so busy. There are guys who really want to build. There's all these youngsters that just want to build and build and build, and they go and knock down everything they build. And then they tell us that they can't find Jews who want to build. Nonsense. Okay? And other useful idiots I read today, this week. Usual leftist, someone who's a prominent conservative rabbi who left the conservative movement with the war, finally at last straw with the conservatives. Why? Because they turned their back on the Israeli army and all the Jews of Israel who were suffering through this last war. Okay? All his conservative friends, all these girly rabbis in New York, are saying that Israel's genociding. And here he's watching his son go off to Gaza, leaving the grandson with him, to watch, and everyone's worried about his, what's going to happen. His son is cruffy and all that. He's proud of his son who's fighting. We're all proud of them, But you don't get support from Jews in Chutz La'aretz, especially conservative Jews. And he couldn't stand that. He says they're being libeled, right, as murderers. And then it turns out the same guy, he himself is basically Rachel Corrie. Okay? Rachel Corrie was a human shield terror advocate, who played chicken with the Israeli bulldozer in Gaza. And the guy didn't see him apparently even, and got run over. So she became a martyr, right? Yeah, I know, you can't, the tractors aren't built for visibility.
You have 14 years in front of the
Yeah.
bulldozer.
Yeah, I see. And also some SUVs have bad visibility. So this guy actually posted about how during the Intifada, what was it? I think in 2002 or something like that, he wrote a nice piece about he went to protect the Arabs from those terrible settlers during the olive harvest. Now, settlers had a good reason to believe that they're, of course, approaching and all that in order to reconnaissance and then attack. And he went and did his whole useful idiot shtick. And he believes the blood libel. He says, I don't like it that the Israeli soldiers are being libeled by fellow Jews in America who don't know what's going on. Look in the mirror, buddy. Okay? Look in the mirror. You're believing the libel about other Jews just a few miles away in some other town. They're turning the hilltop people into the boogeyman. That way they can hurt them, distract. So, yeah, there you go. It's a shame, like we're talking about prince of the conservative movement, So he's upset that they're libeling. This was Gordis. He's upset that his fellow conservatives are libeling the Jews in Israel while he's believing the libels against the other Jews. And the attitude in what he wrote about how, the cartoonish nature of the settlers, they look like they're out of central casting, but the Arabs are described in glowing terms, peaceful, homely, salt of the earth types. I'm wondering, if I would witness what he was doing, I'd say that he's straight out of central casting. Okay? Find a comfortable, Western, educated, as my father-in-law would say, so open-minded his brain fell out type of person. Straight out of central casting. Yeah, so there we go. The problem is we have to stop now because they're having the thing, and I have to go there, apparently to vote against it. In order to save my yeshuv, I have to go.